I always wanted to be a dad. When I was a kid, I watched Leave It to Beaver on television. I thought that show was dumb and predictable. And yet, there was something seductive about it. Ward Cleaver, the dad, was always wise. June Cleaver, the mom, was always compassionate. The two boys, Wally and Beaver, got into trouble in almost every episode. Usually it was Eddie Haskell's fault, but they always did the right thing in the end. The family never had a problem that they couldn't solve inside of a 30-minute episode. The Cleavers were good people. They were a united and loving family. I wanted to be Ward Cleaver. When I was in my 20s, my new girlfriend, Jane, came to my apartment for the first time, and she saw a book on my bookshelf, How to Be a Successful Father. She was immediately suspicious. She pulled it off the shelf and said, "This is a pretty unusual thing for an allegedly single 26-year-old guy to have on his shelf." "I always wanted to be a dad," I said. She stared at me for a moment, decided I was telling the truth. And she smiled and she said, "I always wanted to be a mom." We were married 18 months later. But things didn't go as planned. We battled infertility for a couple of years, which only reinforced that primal urge to have kids. Finally, in 1992, success. Our son Alexander was born. It was wonderful. As I carried my little blonde angel around Arlington in my arms, it seemed to me I was becoming Ward Cleaver. But we weren't done. We wanted another child, so we went back to the fertility treatments, the ups and the downs, the hopes and the disappointments, the roller coaster attached to the monthly cycle, until finally, in 1997, success again. Another pregnancy. The Cleavers were going to give Wally his baby brother. Or so we thought. I came home one day in late October, and I could tell immediately something was up. You know how when Ward Cleaver came home, he always knew when June was having a rough day? It was like that. I just knew. "What's going on?" I asked Jane. "I don't want to talk in front of Alexander," she said. I knew that she had been to the OBGYN that day. I also knew the possible consequences of fertility treatments. Suddenly, I had a flash of insight. "Is it twins?" I whispered. Unfortunately, my insights are not always on target the way Ward Cleaver's insights were. Wordlessly, Jane slipped me a piece of paper. It was a sonogram that had 3 distinct blobs on it. Triplets? The Cleavers didn't have triplets. All of a sudden, I felt like I'd been transferred from Leave It to Beaver to the Addams Family. Yeah, I wanted to be a dad, but wasn't this a bit much? I was overwhelmed with fears and doubts I'd never had before. What if I couldn't handle this? Was I up to this? What were we gonna do? I knew that watching old Leave It to Beaver reruns wasn't gonna help me with this one. So I went to my computer to search for information on parenting triplets. Now, this was back in prehistoric times before Al Gore had invented Google. So I did what cavemen do when we needed information. I went into an AOL chat room. I actually found an electronic bulletin board, especially for the parents of higher order multiples. I love that phrase. Higher order multiples? You know, if my kids were twins, I wouldn't qualify because those would be just like lower order multiples. But they were going to multiple. That was kind of cool. But the first posting on the bulletin board baffled me. It was the holiday season, and somebody wrote, "Hey, what are you guys doing about the Christmas tree?" I didn't understand the question. I mean, if you have triplets, are you supposed to have one tree for each kid? That doesn't make any sense. The responses were very illuminating. The first response said, "What we do is we cut our tree in half vertically, and then we nail half of it to the wall. That works for us." Another poster said, "We tie a kind of a noose around the top of our tree, and we attach that to a hook in the ceiling. It's pretty sturdy." Another poster said, "We're not even going to try to have a regular Christmas tree this year. A little tabletop tree is going to be enough for us." I was starting to get the picture, and I didn't like it, and still I was resisting it. In my naivete, I posted a message. I said, "Hey, I understand why this is an issue. I have a 5-year-old practice child, and when we bring out our Christmas tree, I tell him not to touch it. He doesn't touch it. What's the big deal?" The responses rolled in, "Ha ha, LOL, just wait, you'll see." The first Christmas, the triplets were 6 months old. They weren't even crawling. There was no danger to the tree whatsoever. The second Christmas, they were 18 months old, and the danger was obvious. So Jane and I put a barrier around the tree. A barrier that we knew no 18-month-old could possibly penetrate. Unfortunately, they figured out that 3 18-month-olds working together could push the barrier to one side and thereby gain access to the lower branches of the tree. The second time we heard Alexander call out, "Timber!" We threw in the towel, packed up the few glass ornaments that had survived, and put them in the long-term storage. I was pretty sure that Wally and Beaver had never knocked down the Cleaver's Christmas tree, even if that troublemaker Eddie Haskell told them that it'd be a good thing to do. Gradually, I came to realize we weren't the Cleavers. I wasn't always wise. Jane sometimes lost patience with the kids. When our kids got in trouble, they didn't always do the right thing. We had problems that we couldn't solve inside of 30 minutes. We ended up dealing with stuff I never saw on 1960s television, including Jane's tragic early death. But you know, as I look back on it all now, I realize my dreams have come true. Yeah, I've been unwise, even foolish. My family is still strong. Yeah, Jane is no longer with us, but my kids have turned out to be really good people, and I'm happily remarried. Yeah, we have our share of problems that can't be solved inside of 30 minutes, but my family is still the oasis of love that I always hoped it would be. Today, I'm entering a new phase of my life. As of today, my kids are all full-fledged adults, and my stepdaughters are not far behind them. I no longer have books about parenting on my bookshelf. But in preparation for the future, I have started to bookmark websites on the joys of being a grandparent. Eat your heart out, Ward Cleaver.